Welcome to this episode of the Be Raire Podcast with me, Jessica Kimber, founder of Raire, and today we have Rhyley Hunter, who's the Managing Director of Huntsman Recruitment. Welcome, Rhyley.
Thank you, Jess. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited for us to go through this episode. I know you've got a ton of value to add in terms of having your own business for over 10 years, the challenges that have come with that, expanding, relocating, and also just managing well-being and mental health in recruitment as well. So super excited to dive into that. As you know, this podcast is all about teaching recruiters how they can be rare, how they can be different, unique, and stand out. And I know that that is your values as a person as well, isn't it? Being unique. So we'll dive into that during this episode. But to kick off, Rhyley, super keen for you to share a bit about your journey, having your agency for 10 years now. How did you start your own agency in the first place?
So I was with another company for 3 or 4 years recruiting before that. Absolutely loved the game as well, and always been pretty ambitious and wanted to do something off my own bat as well. And one night, basically, I came in on a Monday morning. They had a meeting with me and said, we're basically pulling all the commission out. You're going to be on a base salary, and you're going to get gift cards once a month. If you're doing a good job, you get a little pat on the back with a $200 gift card. And I thought, what's going on here? And that really sort of triggered me to go, no, it's time to have a crack. It's time to do my own thing. And I still was absolutely shitting myself, to be honest, anyway, about doing that. And had always thought, do I need a partner? Do I need some kind of backing? Like, this is going to be too tough. And a lot of self-doubt sort of creeps in. And yeah, anyway, I clearly remember, went to my auntie and uncle's house for a family lunch. It was on a Sunday. And I was telling him, and he's a business owner, my uncle, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, you're doing it now. He's like, there's a company called Fiverr. They'll do your like, what are you going to call your business? He's mad. And he's as rare as they come. You should get him on.
I like the sound of him already.
Yeah. But no, he was literally like, pull your finger out. You're doing it now. Back yourself. You don't need a partner. That was one really good piece of advice from him. He said, if you agree with the partner, you don't need one. And if you disagree with the partner, you don't need one. So he's like, Rhyley, you do not need one. He's like, just do it yourself. I was like, that's good. It's a good little take on it. Obviously, some partnerships do really work well, though, so don't get me wrong. But anyway, he jumped on his iPad at the time, got on this Fiverr website. Don't even know if it's still going.
Yes.
Is it? There you go. Yeah. Pay $5 for a logo. And I was like, just cool your jets, man. Like, we're just talking about this. He's like, no, you're doing it. Anyway, from there on, that was it. I bit the bullet. I did a lot of planning for probably 6 months, just at home on whiteboards, getting websites ready and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, walked in, I had that dreaded resignation, I guess, chat, and I knew I was going to get marched straight away. So I literally just walked home. It was 5 or 6K walk home with a little money jar that I had from my desk of change. And that was it. Yeah, I started 9 years ago in July and just never looked back. Yeah.
That's crazy. Firstly, how good that you had your uncle that was such a positive influence on your decision. Do you think if it wasn't for him pushing you that you would have bit the bullet and gone ahead and done it?
Look, I don't know. Like, I truly believe like you're exactly where you need to be in life and those sort of situations. So for me, being at that lunch at that time, mentioning it to him, and then him having that real sort of, I guess, sort of like dog eat dog mentality where he's just like, yeah, you're into it. That's it. It just probably just jolted something in me to say, yeah, I can do this and it's time. Yeah. So it really just set me on the path. So yeah, I always mention to them, once or twice a year, or even think about it come like every anniversary of the business, and sort of reach out or thank them in social media posts to be like, yeah, I do appreciate that, that little nudge you gave me. So that's what I love. I guess like helping other recruiters or other people as well. I'm definitely an open book, and I love mentoring people. And because it can just be sometimes that one little tiny bit of push or that one tiny positive influence that can really tip someone over the edge to actually go and live the life they want to live.
Absolutely. In my experience, mentors have made a huge impact on my decisions as well. A lot of the things that I've added to my business, including the training, came from mentors. They were like, why aren't you doing this as well? Why are you just recruiting? So it's funny, isn't it? I feel like if you surround yourself with the right people, you can definitely go down a path which suits you better, but you may not have even thought about. So yeah, I can definitely relate. But you're in Wagga Wagga as well, which interests me. You're the only recruiter I've ever spoken to in my life from Wagga Wagga. So what's the market like there?
Look, we're born and bred rare out here, Jess.
Yeah.
It's God's country.
Love
God's country. We call Wagga Wagga.
it. Love it.
The market out here, was that the question?
Yeah, the market. I'm just curious to know like how it works there in terms of recruitment. Is there lots of jobs and people to fulfill the roles?
Yeah, definitely. So, like, unemployment
Yeah.
rates are probably on par with what's happening nationally, anyways. There's no real change in that aspect. We're a small regional city, I guess. So there's 70,000 people here in Wagga, but it's growing very, very rapidly. We've got all the facilities, everything you need that's on par with the city. Even salaries and whatnot as well are definitely sort of, starting to push up there, which is good. But cost of living out here, the lack of a commute compared to Sydney and Melbourne is just phenomenal. And a lot of the time we're starting to attract more and more people coming from those metro areas, especially since COVID, and having that bit of a tree change. So, yeah, we're smack bang in the middle of Sydney and Melbourne, so 4 hours drive from each. Again, really good facilities and stuff out here. The business world out here is absolutely thriving, so there's a big startup scene. It's not so much like people would think it's just agriculture and that's it. There's a lot going on in industrial sort of work, manufacturing. The professional services sector is booming out here as well. So yeah, it's definitely a city in its own right. It's just on a smaller scale, so a little bit more relaxed. You're literally 15 minutes drive to any different suburb in Wagga, and we're connected to the Riverina, so that's our trying to think of the word, our sort of geographical setting, what we call ourselves anyway, the Riverina. So that encompasses Albury-Wodonga, which has got about 140,000 people. Likes of Griffith, which is a big farming, like a lot out of Griffith is a lot of, that's where a lot of the really good wines in the country come from. And they call that the sort of the food bowl. So with a huge area in itself anyway, but really great city. I was born and bred here, so I got lots of great memories, great relationships. It's been fantastic to really establish the business here before we've looked to expand anyway.
Yes, exactly. And exciting stuff as well. You're expanding up to the Gold Coast very soon. So tell me a little bit about your agency and what you'll be setting up there.
Yep. So basically what we've been doing the last 2 or 3 years with Huntsman Recruiting is making sure we've got our processes and systems and our social media and everything that we can extremely uniformed, almost like a franchise type setup. So we want to be able to replicate exactly what we're doing here. We call it Hunty HQ in different locations, so to be able to grow. So we've really done that the last 3 or 4 years with branching down into Albury as well. So we don't have a physical office location, but we're only an hour and a half drive from Albury. So we're down there once a week. And I'd say 40% of our market share now comes from Albury. And that's, again, just from doing what we do well, which is it's definitely that tailored marketing, that unique and quirky approach, and customer service. Literally, if you're doing the basics of customer service, you're already above the pack. Like literally just calling people back, getting back to people ASAP, and just treating everyone like a bloody human being. If you're doing those 3 things, your business is going to be successful. It is really that simple. It's like with sport. If you go back to just getting the basics right, you're going to be successful in doing that. It's not, you don't need to overcomplicate it, which, trust me, I've been there with lots of different things like that. Expansion into Albury, a complete overcomplication where now I just really make it that cutting back to just those bare bones of what's going to make it successful. So yeah, that's what we're looking to do up at the Gold Coast. Myself and my family are relocating up there. We've bought a house at Palm Beach, so
beautiful.
Looking forward to growing the hair back and
that's it. You'll be so tanned as well because the weather there is just
look out. The pace of life's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, really excited about that. But
Yeah.
Given that it comes with its own challenges too. So it's
Yeah.
completely cold desk up there. There's no relationships. So it's really starting the business from scratch. But we've obviously got that really good backing now of what, I guess what we've built here as well in our marketing and our know-how. So I know it'll work up there as well. It's just putting the effort in and doing the best you can and building that brand and reputation up there as well. One client, one candidate at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Do you have all the processes already in place from your current agency that you're ultimately going to like pick up and plug and play? Is that how you'll do it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So like all that franchise model, that's really what we're trying to do here is get this, in Wagga and Albury firing on all cylinders. Everything's absolutely Mickey Mouse, which, even over the last 12 months, we've completely changed the business in that sense. So we've split the desks. We now only have temp and a perm recruiter. There's no more, doubling up or that 360 type recruiter that's doing it all. We've got a proper marketing officer in here as well, and in-house videographer to do all our work, which has really changed the game for us. Things like commission structures, we've had to make sure everything that we've got is absolutely watertight. We've moved to a 4-day work week, so that's been going on for 2 months. And again, we're just trying to iron out all the creases here. This is our guinea pig, I guess. Which is easy because we're all here in person, where I know there's going to be some complexities with me leading from the Gold Coast as well. So just trying to manage all of that. But yeah, definitely we've got all those processes and systems, so everything will be fine-tuned, which we're always looking at. Like every quarter we're catching up to go over, what's working, what's not. I'm all about getting those 1%ers and really making sure that I've just got really high standards of myself to begin with, and that can filter through to the business. And so we'll see how we go. Gold Coast in we'll be there, and we're already starting to do some marketing up there and get some people on it.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I hope it all goes really well. And I think it's great you've got the in-house marketing girl who's helping you out, because getting ahead of that 6 months in advance will make the biggest difference. So I know a lot of my audience in recruitment, like marketing themselves is one of the hardest things. And I think there's just so many different strategies that people can get overwhelmed as well. It's like, which one do you start with or where do you begin? So what's been your strategy in terms of building your online presence in different locations?
Yep. I think it really just comes back to authenticity to me. So just being real, and I don't know, you can see there's a lot of people out there within the social media space and marketing that are saying you've got to post 3 times a week or write this content or one educational, one cultural, one whatever it is. But I just think it's just got to be able to add value or be connective to that audience that you're trying to crack into as well. And that's the main thing. So it could be once a week, it could be once a month, but obviously you probably want more than once a month, but you don't want to just be throwing out content for content's sake. So we just make sure it's legitimate. It's again, ticks one of those boxes where it's either funny and going to get a good little laugh out of people and get them involved in our culture and to show really sort of who we are outside of the business world as well. But our real strategy is just we sort of just dance on that line of professionalism and playfulness. So we've definitely pushed that too far at times. Or now, like Instagram stories, we carry on. I remember going back 4 or 5 years ago, just complete carry on. Take the piss out of ourselves and the Mickey all the time, which it really helped build our audience because they just understood who we are and they watch it just for that. But then it's like, shit, how can we show them that we're actually filling roles, that we know what we're talking about, that we're professionals in our field. So it's just finding that right balance. And like we've got plenty of videos that we've done as well where I remember one we were doing only 2 years ago, which we haven't released at all, which we might one day for a bit of a giggle, but it was a food porn type thing with like the ASMR and whatnot, had me basically naked with an apron doing that. Like, it was, but we looked at it, we're like, shit, we can't put that out there. Which also, like, marketing's marketing, good or bad, like as long as people get but everyone's like, no, this has got to be hidden away somewhere in the back dungeon.
It's one of them posts that will come back to haunt you in 5 years.
Exactly. But no, we're just trying to have fun with it, to be honest. it'll completely change. In 5 years' time, there'll be something else from Instagram and LinkedIn. There'll be VR or holograms or who, God knows what. So you just got to, I think the more I just have fun with it, and literally said to Laws, our marketing coordinator, the other day, my role really at the moment with her in-house now like that is it's just content, which I absolutely love. I love being creative. I love carrying on. So that's, a couple of hours of my day is just sitting there thinking about what can we do? How can we educate people in a fun way? How can we do things? Yeah. How can we take gold from other industries and bring them into the recruitment space and really use that? But yeah, that really comes down to, again, just not taking yourselves too seriously, having a bit of fun and being authentic. And I think especially with LinkedIn, that's what I try and do with all my content is just be a real straight shooter, like call it as it is, say, just show people, really who I am.
Yeah. That comes across as well. I love the content that you post because I feel like your personality in your content is exactly how you speak in person as well. So when people connect with you, they don't get any surprises. What they've seen online is who you are offline as well. And that's why I always try and say to people, I actually, so somebody who's one of my personal branding clients, he sent me a post this morning, was like, can you just cast your eyes over this? And it had all the buzzwords in it, the classic ChatGPT buzzwords like unparalleled, unwavering, superstars. And I just went back to him. I was like, the post itself is good, but make it you, because people can tell you've just done this on ChatGPT. And there was nothing wrong with the content of the post, but I was like, the language is just not relatable. So you definitely need to find that way to have your authentic tone of voice, because otherwise people think, well, if ChatGPT wrote this, can you even do this? Because a chatbot's written this up, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's funny because I've done a bit of training in regards to, I love writing content. It's one of my biggest things. And now it's sort of transferred into the video side of things, but I love sitting there and writing. But from the training that I've done, you need to write it as if you're having that conversation. So there's no point, there's no point like overexemplifying like a word or like if you wouldn't use that in a conversation, just don't use it in the written form as well. And that's what's been a big thing for me. And even that less is more approach. So if you can, and that's the hardest thing with writing, if you can condense 3 paragraphs into 1 sentence and get that word across, so bloody powerful. But it's really hard to do. And so it's a practice and a skill. But it was funny. I was thinking last week, actually, it might have been a couple of days ago, about the old ChatGPT, like when it sort of reared its head a little bit, probably 6 months ago, really in the recruitment space. You could see who was using it on LinkedIn, especially, like with the little emoticons or whatever you call them, emojis. And these are like the dot points, the wording of it. And you're just like, what are you doing? You haven't posted, you haven't written a thing in your life, and now you're putting that on there. And it kept up for 3 to 6 months. And then now it's sort of, they've all fizzled out a little bit, which I found interesting. So it's still those things, even with the ChatGPT, you need to, that's where it's really never going to take over. Like you still need to be creative yourself and have your own personal brand, your own little stake on things, your own opinion. And it can help you write it a little bit as well. It's great in some senses, but it can't be you.
Yeah. I love personal branding because I think as recruiters, we always have to think of smart ways to market ourselves. That's just part of our role. And the better you are at marketing yourself, the more opportunities you're going to have. And the reason I love personal branding is because I'm like, nobody can take that away from you. No chatbot, no copycat, no nothing. Like you are authentic with your audience and you'll build an audience on that basis. So in my opinion, it's actually critical that recruiters do start learning how to market themselves in smart ways. And you nailed it when you said, who knows what's going to be there in 5 years? Is it going to be, VR, like all of this stuff? We don't know, but we need to adapt as per what the market is doing, because we can't control what the market does. We just need to adapt to it. So if AI is going to streamline, then we need to get on board with that. So it is a beast. So I feel like as recruiters, it did used to be simple. We used to make our client calls, our candidate calls, and we used to make placements. But now there's a lot of other factors that go into our role. So my question to you is like, how do you find the time as a business owner who manages a team, who recruits? How do you find the time to also create all of your content and do your marketing as well?
To me, it's sort of just making the time for it, like literally putting in your calendar an hour or two a week or whatever, whenever it is, or even if you're going for a run or at the gym, or you have these sort of, that's usually where something comes to me, or I'm meditating and I'm like, shit, and I'll get out of that and just go straight to the notes in my phone, write a few things down. Or as soon as anything comes to me, I'll just write it as a draft, as an email. Like I'm the worst administrator you've ever met. Like I've got stuff tabs open everywhere. It's just absolute nuts. But that's how I'll usually do it. So it can be sporadic, and you can get content from anything, really. Like even from this chat today, I could sit there and reflect on it this afternoon and be like, shit, was I prepared for that? Like, what did I do? Was it just I winged it and it was in the moment, and that's why I felt comfortable? Like there's so many things you could write about even this. But literally, I get a lot of inspiration just from things that happen in the office with the team. So managing a team, there's so many different complexities. You've got to change your leadership styles to adapt to exactly what's happening either in the market or your business or that individual person. And even from that, you can, if you're self-reflective, you can use that to build content. So that's, to me, I use my own life or even my family or what's going on with me mentally to be able to build content, not just create it for the sake of going, oh, Jess will like this because she'll, or someone else will like this, or this might get some likes. Really, the posts that generate the most interaction and likes and follows and all that sort of stuff is stuff that's just authentic from you. So it's not, you're not putting it out there to get a reaction. You're just doing it to, really like create. It's just something that's you. That's what I find that resonates the most with people. And that's why I try and be just as honest as possible with, either struggles that have happened to me along my life or what's happened, and I am going to start opening up more and more and more the next 6 to 12 months, which part of it scares me, but a part of it is just like, no, that's who you are. If people don't want to work with you because of your past or something that's happened, well, good luck to them. I just generate as it comes. In terms of the business itself, like with our marketing coordinator and the team, we actually have something that's called, we call it lunch and lols. So we come prepared with, if it's different like memes that we've seen or Instagram videos or things that have happened in different industries, and the business will shout lunch. We sit around. It's literally just to connect. So it's for multiple reasons, to sit around, chew the fat, talk rubbish, carry on. But then at the same time, we film. So it's an hour and a half locked out once a month. And that's when we do our Instagram filming. So we'll have 3 or 4 or 5 videos knocked out that hour and a half, and that's it. And then we move on. So then Lawsy will post those over the coming weeks. But we're always just thinking about, like, Laura's just brilliant. She's got a similar sort of mind to me, very like creative and fun, and can just find content out of different things that are happening. I sit down with every team member once a week as well, just for a personal catch up for half an hour, just to check in, which I just think is so important. If you're not doing that as a business, like, definitely jump onto it now. It solves a lot of problems and eliminates some headaches. But we'll talk all the time. Like, what about this? What about that? And I guess part of her job, or even Katie's been brilliant. She's been with me for 8.5 years. And like, I've got good people around me to say, pull your head in. We're just doing this at the moment, or no, that's too mad. Stop thinking about that. Get back to the job at hand. So I've got even like coaches like a Ross Clennett, and I've got a mindset coach and stuff as well. So I've got really good people around me to be able to hone that creative side and just be like, okay, it's time to focus again, mate.
People to rein you in. But I feel like as a business owner, you've got a million plates spinning. There's ideas in each and every one of those million plates, and it's you can't do everything. You have to get your structure, but it's definitely hard because I can relate to that.
Definitely undiagnosed ADHD or OCD or something. Anyway, I'm just a madman. But,
that's so funny. I say that about myself. I say I've definitely got ADHD, self-diagnosed, but 100%. I hit every single one of the symptoms.
I'm the biggest distractor in the office. Like, we've literally got lights on our desk now, and you put them on red if you don't want to be distracted. And I'll do my little thing and be excited and look over and everyone's on. Come on, like, someone's got to talk to me. Like a little Labrador, really, with no hair.
Oh, that's good. I love the system though, the red and green lights. So talk to me now, or don't talk to me at all.
Exactly. But that's what we do with our content anyway. We just take it as it comes. We do have those, so it's sort of formalized in a sense, but it's in our relaxed Huntsman way.
I like it. I love it. So important to have that content strategy. And I think videos doing better and better these days. And obviously you've got your podcast as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like people get to know you and, like you've said, your authentic quirks. And if they don't want to work with you off the back of that, well, that's your service offering anyway, because that's the way you are and that's the way you communicate. So it's only going to repel the wrong people and attract the right people. That's the way I
Yeah.
see it anyway. So
And that's what I did. I read once as well. You don't want to be everything to everyone. Like it's
you
the
can't.
wrong
You
approach, because you really won't be able to build a successful business from there. You need to be polarizing in a sense where the right people, exactly like you said, will flock to you and love that side of you. And then, because I know for sure that some people would just, I'm not their cup of tea. They're like, that bloke, just fucking stop, mate. Like, or that you see like people unfollow you on, and you just, at the start, that used to kill me. I used to look at like followers and on Instagram or LinkedIn, you know, going back 6 or 7 years and be like, we had 1,500 last week. Now it's at, 14.95 or something. Like, fucking, what have I done like for that post? But you get to a point where that even just eggs you on more and more to just keep being yourself. Who cares? They'll go up and down. Doesn't matter. People love you or hate you. Just be yourself, because it doesn't matter. Big scheme of life, it does not matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. I think as well, the more you do this and the more you practice and put content out online, the more confident you get. Because when I actually first started posting content, I would post more so like how-to educational posts. Like 95% of what I posted was like trying to teach someone something. And I was watching YouTube videos, listening to mentors, various things, and everyone was saying, tell stories, tell personal stories about you, upload images of you and all of this. And I was like, oh, cringe, like this is not Facebook. And it used to cringe me out. But it's so funny because I started doing it, and literally I did it on my birthday. Someone took a photo of me. I was like, you know what, that's kind of professional. I'll upload that to LinkedIn. And it did better than any other post. And I was like, damn it, I wish I listened to people sooner. So then I started doing more like authentic storytelling, images of me. And that's actually when my personal brand started really gaining attraction, because then people start to know me. And then off the back of that, I could then easily explain my service offering, how I operate, what I do, etc. And people were more receptive because technically they already liked me as such, and that's where it came from. So I always say that to people as well. When I get on followers, but I'm the same at this point. It's like it used to bother me so much and trigger me, and I used to be like, why? What have I said? Oh my God, is that made me look like unprofessional or like I've said the wrong thing? But the reality is that's what I would say in a one-on-one meeting, because that's what I believe and that's why I operate. So I've just saved myself the hassle of qualifying a lead, so
100%. And that's like, I was just thinking when you said that as well, the first time that I connected with you was from, you did a post about your initial billings or something. It was going back 4 or 5 months ago, saying, I billed 60 grand or 80 grand, thought you're a superstar. Basically, this isn't how you wrote the post, but it was something, thought you're all that, went out and bought a Louis Vuitton bag or something. And then next minute you're like, shit, I've got to pay bus, I've got to pay rent. And you're like, wow. And I'd completely resonated with that as a business owner, because I remember that first quarter in business. I was like, you're a rock star, man. Like, look at this. Look at the money you're bringing in. And then next minute, I got this gas bill, and I was like, rang the accounts. You didn't tell me about this. Like, what's this? And super, like, you just realize that I was like, yeah, this is going to be harder than it looks. And I think that's what's sort of annoying me a little bit about the industry at the moment too. There's a lot of hype out there about recruiters. If you're a high performing recruiter, just going, well, go out your own, create your own business.
Yes.
I'm like, this all sounds good. And yes, the first 12 to 18 months are going to be, it's a honeymoon phase. Like, I get it. But the real work comes when you start getting a team around you, when you start trying to grow, when there's different personalities, when there's problems come up. Like, anyway, I could talk about that all day. Like, I want definitely, if you've got that ambition and drive and probably the nerve to be able to go out there and do that and ride the waves up and down, go and do it. Like, I 100% will back anyone and help anyone in the world. Like, anyone wants to chat, you're definitely here. But it's a tough gig.
I'm with you on that. And I think as well, in my experience, I wouldn't change my journey for the world, but it definitely hasn't been easy. And I think you assume when you go out on your own, all of your billings are yours. So if you bill 30, 40 grand a month, that's 40 grand in your pocket. But the reality is it's not. It's marketing, it's systems, it's licenses, it's software, it's hiring support and help. Then when you look at your actual profit margin, you're like, okay, was I better off on a higher commission bracket when I was employed? And sometimes
100%.
the answer is no. Sometimes it's actually not worthwhile starting your own agency because your expenses are so much as well. So that's what I always say to people, because I do a bit of mentoring. They'll say, I'll ask them about their motivators. And as soon as I hear people think that it's 40 grand in their pocket a month, I'm like, right, let's talk about this.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
prepared for this?
100%. Well, I remember that was exactly my mindset when I was recruiting for another company. I was like, doing really well, billing a lot, and then I was like, shit, I'm making, this amount of money per month for this company. I'm only taking this tiny little cut. This is bullshit. Now they've cut it more. And then the more I got into it, the more I was like, right, so that 15 grand fee, you're probably seeing 8 grand from it if you're lucky after everything comes out. And so you've got to keep replicating that. Plus you've got the stress of putting your house on the line, that responsibility of being like, this is all on me. If this fails, if this doesn't work out. So it's not a switch on, switch off job. There's, a lot comes along with it. So again, I agree. Like I wouldn't change my journey for the world, but at the same time, if people look and go out there and do it, I'd say do it if you're ready and you know that. And I don't know, because you can have that lifestyle business in recruitment where it's just you and one other, or just you doing your perms and whatever. But if you want to grow and do temp and perm and get to 10 plus employees, being a big biller is not going to get you there. Like I guarantee it. Like I've had to change so much and learn and grow and get the right people and mindset and coaching to just even level up a tiniest bit. Like it's just, you go through this big life degree. It's like the best you can do, but it takes, I think, a particular type of person to be able to want to put yourself through that and put it on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There's a lot more to it. And I think it takes a challenge. It takes its toll mentally as well. And I know offline, you and I have spoken about this a lot in terms of that mental health and well-being side of things, because and I know we're both on a journey of trying to be a bit more public about these challenges as well, because I think sometimes recruiters feel that they're doing something wrong, perhaps because they're going through these challenges. They're not feeling their best. They can't get to the next level. But the reality is that's normal. But learning to manage that is the key, isn't it? But in your experience with overcoming any challenges on that mental health side of things, like what have you put in place to overcome any barriers?
Yeah. To me, a huge thing that really saved my life going back probably 6 or 7 years ago is meditation, like just incorporating that into your daily life. I know when I get and I'm definitely no saint here, but like if I can get, some weeks I'll meditate twice a day for 20 minutes a day. This transcendental meditation. It's it's just a really simple thing to do, really, that has just a phenomenal impact on your, not just while you're meditating, but for 4 or 5 hours after that experience. It's one of the best drugs you can really go into. And that really just allows you to have more self-awareness, which like as a business leader or a high performing recruiter, you need to have. Like that emotional intelligence is such a huge component of what you do. So that's the biggest thing I've found with meditation. But again, sometimes I'll get on a 6 to 8 week streak where I'll do it 2 times a day, feel absolutely fantastic. Then I'm like, I'm sweet, I'm sorted now. I don't feel anxious anymore. Like you're on here. And then I just let it go. And then sure as hell, it rears its head again. And then, so I think if it's used as a bit of a band-aid, it's probably not the best way to do it. But if you can incorporate that, even if it's 10 minutes a day to start with but doing it consistently, to me, that's been phenomenal. The other thing, like I mentioned before, is just, you said it, like surrounding yourself around the right people. I think that's a big thing. So and that's where like a lot of my money that I spend is on coaches, and like my friends and that'll take the piss. Like you got a gymnastics coach, you got a mindset coach, you got a business coach, an accounting coach. Like fucking how many coaches does a bloke need? But I'd rather spend all that money on myself and that personal development than cars or anything else. So, all that sort of stuff. So I know it doesn't make you happy. I've been there where you've had, $600 in the account or you've had 400 grand in your account, and it literally makes no difference to that mindset. People think it does. And I think the hardest thing is when you get there too, it eliminates any hope. Like usually on your way up, as you're building up the ladder, you got this hope of like, well, once I get there, I'll feel this. Once I do this, I'll feel that. And then you get there and you're like, shit, now I'm, and that sort of hope goes, I guess, to go, well, money's going to change that for me. And then you're like, now I'm at the top of this sort of structure, and everything's going well financially, but I still feel terrible inside. So that's when you realize that your mind is the most important asset that you have for your whole life. And if you can get that right, like you'll grow. So went on a tangent there, but really mindset coaches that I have, business coach as well. So people like that where I can really sort of spew in a bucket, like get all of my thoughts and feelings out there each and every week. It's like a therapy session really, and to help correct those thoughts. Apart from that, like journaling at nighttime as well is a fantastic way. So there's my mindset mentor, Iggy McGowan, taught me, which is called Reflections and Corrections. So it's writing down, it's not so much journaling about each and everything that's happened in your day, but it might be, let's say, for instance, like just being real and raw. So temp numbers, our temp numbers have dropped considerably the last 6 months, which concerns me big time. It's obviously a huge part of our business, and we've taken a big hit cash flow wise, had a couple of rough quarters. So each and every night I'm sort of writing in there to get that out of me. Like, the temp numbers have dropped. This is very concerning. If it drops again to this level, well, what's going to happen with the business? What's going to happen with me? Temps is all getting too hard. There's too many WHS claims, like any little thought, but then underneath it. So that's the reflection, and then the correction of that thought. So it's like everything is working out. If you're doing the right business development, you've got the right processes in place. You're ensuring that everything on the WHS front is done Mickey Mouse and you're watertight. Like everything is working out. Or it could well be something like even just the little reminders of just like these laws that are, primary to nature. Like, yes, you're in a bit of a winter, but things are turning. The cycles are always turning. Spring's coming. Keep doing the BD. Keep chipping away. Do the, so little things like that where you're constantly putting out your thoughts, or it might be from a family sense, like you lose your patience with your children or something at night time, and then you put them to bed, then you get this guilt of like, I'm a bad dad, or where you're like, you can write that out and be like, no, you're a fantastic dad. Like, but next time, how about you take a breath, relax, no matter how noisy and how mad it is, or how much you're worrying about your temp hours. They don't care. Like, this is where the government is. So it's that to me in itself, just writing out your thoughts is brilliant. And the other biggest thing that I do is it's the breath, like using your breath to really calm your whole nervous system. So to get yourself out of that fight or flight response. So it's like those two through the nose and then that big long exhalation, which you can literally do when you're in front of clients, when you can do it as much as you can throughout the day, but that really brings you back into your body, which helps bring you back into presence, which is what will really change your life.
Yeah, wow. Amazing advice there. So much value in that. I'm super intrigued about a few things that you've mentioned there. So the journaling being number one. I actually did this 5-day subconscious mind reprogramming course.
Right. Yeah.
And I can send you a link to it afterwards. I feel like you would like this. It's just an online course, an hour a day for 5 days in real time. And what she ultimately did is she asked us like 20 questions, and then she would say, for example, money is, and then whatever the first thing that comes to your mind, you write it down. Or my parents are, my children are, my partner is, and she does all this. And ultimately what comes out is what's in your subconscious mind. And then what she gets you to do is recode your subconscious by writing reverse statements. And then you record it to a theta wave on your phone, and then you listen to it every single night. So I have this like subconscious reprogramming, but it sounds as though you're literally doing that every single day in your journaling. You're reversing your negative thoughts by providing yourself with a solution, and you're confirming in your mind that the negative's not true. And I love that, because it's one thing doing it in a 5-day program, but you're doing this every single day. So I'm going to practice this. I love that.
Yeah, 100%. And definitely, like I said, I'm no angel either. So there's some nights where, and they're probably the most nights where you need to do it, where the excuses will come in like, oh, it's late, or this has been going on, or
tired.
So I'm definitely no angel with it as well. And I don't fully practice it. So it's just one of those things where, and that's where I'm completely a work in progress too. But I know if I can get the days when I'm the best is if I've exercised, I've meditated, I've been practicing the breathing, and I've journaled at nighttime. If I do those things, you're feeling fantastic. So it's just getting on a good, consistent streak and making them a habit, which that's probably the biggest thing I'm trying to do at the moment is work on how to really put them into the day, like even meditation. I can do it while I'm at work. Like I've got that freedom to do it. So if I've got it in the calendar, then why aren't I doing it? So it's really just asking myself, like, what's going on? What are the roadblocks here and why aren't you doing it? Because you know how good it is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes such a big difference. I'm into pretty much all of that, what you've just mentioned as well. Exercise for me is number one. I cannot go a day without exercising. My brain will be cluttered. It's crazy. Just a
What
walk.
sort of exercise do you do?
I walk a lot. Every single day I'll do a walk for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'll do Pilates at least 4 times a week as well. They're my main two. I do other things in and out like gym and stuff like that. But I weight trained for like 10 years. And I'll be honest, I'm a bit over it. I know I'm obsessed with Pilates at the moment, so that's my new thing. But walks are what I do for mental health. And I genuinely do not understand how people go about their day without walking, because I listen to positive things, podcasts, motivational videos, like even if it's like a meditational video. Obviously I'm not meditating when I'm walking, but the ones that are speaking to you and they're saying like everything will work out, you are aligned, you're exactly where you need to be. And then I'm like, right, I'm ready for my day now. I don't know how people rock up out of bed, sit at their desk and start working, because my brain is just not that way inclined.
No, that exercise is so so even one thing I've found as well, like I had something I can't really sort of go into, but last week I had to go to Melbourne and do do like this big thing that really pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I was really worried about it, like just the thoughts kept on coming, like saying to myself, it was just doubt, like you can't do this, you're not good enough, da 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 da. And I had to really work on that for that whole week, is correcting those thoughts, so writing them out. But I found that exercise, but what I was getting at is the music, like to me. And it sounds nuts, but there's this Sia song. It's like, what heard of Sia, Unstoppable.
That's one of my songs as well that I listen to.
I put that on, and I literally finished that. If I'm at the gym too or running or something, and I am unstoppable. Like I'm like, I win every single day. Like I'm just completely jacked up, and I could go and take over the world. So just like music can change your state, like
Oh my God, it's so funny. That's one of my songs that I put on. It's crazy. And the Honey theme tune as well. Do you know the one, I Believe? The Honey theme tune, I Believe?
No, I haven't. I'll have to have a look.
Have a look at it. So it's so funny because the Sia one, I went to a seminar. I think it was a public speaking seminar actually, and that was their theme tune. It was the Sia tune. So I now associate it with that. So that's so funny. And the Honey one was one that I went to with a guy called Aaron Sansoni. He's like a business mentor, and that's where I got the Honey one from. And it's like an association. So I do that a lot as well with associations, both positive and negative. And I know offline you and I spoke about suffering from panic attacks, which is something people would see us as confident, showing up authentically online, which we can, but we've worked very hard. But I've had something since I was a kid called panic disorder. And it's where most people, if they have a panic attack, they'll go, oh, that was strange. Like, what happened there? And it's usually a triggering moment, a stressful moment in their life, and then they just move on. But when you suffer from panic disorder, that shakes you up. So then you start getting panicked that you're going to panic, and then you build a fear, and you build an association around that. So I feel like as well, that's something I've always worked really hard on to change, is my associations with my negative, because I've done things like had panic attacks in like work environments before. And then sometimes when I've got a meeting which is fairly similar and I've got that association, I'll even to this day get the fear. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have a panic attack. I'm going to embarrass myself. And it's like, you don't, but it's the negative self-talk in your head. And that's why I have to focus so hard on these well-being activities, because that doesn't come naturally to me. So
exactly. And like that's I think it's just an important point to touch on. Like, before, like I'd always been quite an anxious sort of person. I didn't realize much sort of about it, but and I'd self-medicated with drugs. Like I was smoking weed for Australia, basically, even a year or two into starting the business. So that's what I hadn't really sort of mentioned that until the other day, probably a month ago in socials. But it was just something I always knew. I was like, why are you doing this? It was just this self-medication thing. It was my way to just get rid of these thoughts at the end of a day and still wake up fresh the next day and whatnot. But it started doing which addiction does. It starts to do the opposite at some point. Like there's a balancing point, and then it becomes worse. And yeah, I went to America with my ex-wife at the time, and she was 8 weeks pregnant and had a miscarriage over there. So we were, however far away, 20 hours away from home, no family, friends, all that sort of stuff, in the hospital for 2 or 3 days, watching her go through all that as well. Like it was bloody hard. Like it's very, very hard sort of on women, obviously, especially. But I went and had this huge, big black coffee, and got back up to the room, sat there, and then something just hit me, and I was like, I looked at all the nurses, like, come here. And then they're like, what's wrong, mate? And I was like, I don't know, I'm dying. Like, there's something going on, I'm dying. And then they strapped me up with all these heart monitors. And they're like, mate, I think you're having a panic attack. And from there on in, like you said, it became this fear of having another one, because I was like, what the hell was that? That completely rocked me. And when I got back to Wagga, I started smoking more and more because of that fear. And then I didn't want to go to situations. And then I went and did a job brief. Clearly remember to this day, sat there, had a full-blown panic attack. And a lot of people, it's weird because they wouldn't even know that you were having one in front of them. Yeah. But you're just completely in your head, your heart's racing out of your chest. And I just wanted to get out of there. And I got out of there, went home, smoked myself silly, because I was like, what the fuck was that again? Like, and it made this addiction that I had with smoking weed 10 times worse, and literally couldn't do anything for a couple of weeks after that. I was just like, no, I'm going to stay at home, do everything, hide myself away. Yeah. I didn't really process that miscarriage thing and what had happened with the panic attack. I had no mentors back then. There was no meditation. There was nothing either. So had no tools to really understand what the hell was going on. So from there, that's when I got onto Iggy, the mindset mentor, because I started having these panic attacks and the fear of them. And then he really was like, mate, you need to go cold turkey, throw it all out, which I did, and completely flipped my life around. But like I said, I was doing that 2 years into starting the business too, which is nuts. So all this stuff was going on whilst I was a basic drug addict, smoking $300 worth of weed a week. And nuts. And so now I completely flipped that. And same as you though, like sometimes still I'll go into, if it's a client brief or whatever, and I have that, the thought comes straight away, like that's going to happen again. And constantly get that confidence back. And like, no, it's not. Like you're a different person now. You have the tools, you do things differently. You're a completely different man now. And that, like, it's more like that exposure therapy. I think the more you go in and do it and give yourself these, and that's where confidence comes from truly too, because if you go out there and you prove to your body and your mind every single day that you're doing these things over and over, you'll associate that then to be like, I've got this, like I'm in control. Job briefs are nothing. I've done thousands of them before. Like you're fine. You had 2 bad experiences out of 1,000. And you now know how to control it. But so to me, like that's why I really went down that path, that sort of spiritual path, I guess, or the meditation and then the mindfulness. And because I know I've got that sort of mind where if I don't do these things, it can really go off track pretty quick. Yeah. Same. So, which is probably similar to, like, everyone's probably got that a bit, but I just think like even that mindset mentor is like, mate, you've got to, it's what you fuel yourself with too. So it's like, it comes with the end of diet as well, because like you've got the special, there's something special in your eyes, in like you're like on the spectrum basically, but you've got to, if you're like, even a Ferrari, it's like if you fuel a Ferrari with, rubbish fuel, you're going to get that out of it, where if you're fueling yourself the right way, all those inputs from the mindfulness stuff are great. You're going to feel great and you're going to take yourself to that next level. So
I agree with that. I feel like it's all the 1%ers that you do daily. It's the daily meditation, it's the daily journal, it's the daily practice, it's the daily walk. It compounds into your entire life. It's how you project into the world. That's why I find it so important to build these daily habits. But I do think it's definitely hard. Like you're busy, and I'm busy as well, and it is hard to keep up with everything. But it's about choosing what's important, because I know if I can spend an hour in the morning exercising and 30 minutes doing my well-being stuff, yes, it's an hour and a half earlier I have to get up, but then I'm set up for the whole day. And the 8 hours in the day that I work, I'm 10 times more efficient than if I don't do that. So it's almost like you have to choose your battles. But there's some days where my 100% is like my 20%, and I have to just take a break, and I have to just have an afternoon, go for a massage, chill out, relax, and I have to do that for myself, because mentally I physically can't get myself, but I know I'll get out of it. I just need that break. It's when I'm very overwhelmed, that's when I'll get that, and that's when I have to take a step back. But it's 100%. The reason I want to share that is it's so real for recruiters. Like, we're in a highly stressful, pressured role, and if maybe you don't have such extreme symptoms or anxiety, but it's normal to feel stressed and overwhelmed. But there is definitely ways that you can get out of that, and there's tools as well. But the worst thing you can do is avoid it. So I remember my therapist once said to me, when you suffer with anxieties, what happens is if you make your life smaller, so if you start avoiding these activities, going out, so if you've got social anxiety, for example, like going out, the problem gets bigger. So by you avoiding it, you're actually creating a bigger problem. You need to face it, because then you say to yourself exactly what you said: this has happened 2 times in 1,000. It's not that big. And then that's how you can overcome it. So that's really the key, not letting it interfere.
Yeah. No, and I love what you said then as well, because definitely I'll have those days where you're like, there's too much going on, the overwhelm, the stress, the pressure, and all that sort of stuff. And you literally, and I say to our team in here too, I was like, don't have a sick day. Like, just ring me and tell me, let's be honest with each other. And one of our values is bring your shit to work. So we constantly say, like, let's talk it through. And literally came up yesterday with someone, and I was like, take the day, mate. No worries at all. Like, do your thing. Like, get yourself right, and away you go. I don't care, because I do that and need that myself from time to time. And like you said as well, in recruitment, it's you're juggling a million different plates. There's things spilling over. There's so much going on at once, and it's really easy to slip into that overwhelm when you're thinking. And the thing is too with recruitment, it doesn't stop. Like, it's like if you're a perm recruiter or a temp recruiter, you fill one role or 10 roles, and you're back to square one. Like, there's new orders coming through, and you start again and again and again and again. So you really need to be able to manage that. And that's what I say to, literally even said it to our perm recruiter, Liv, the other day, like, you're doing a great job. There's going to be peaks and troughs, but sort of enjoy that. Like, when you've had a really good quarter, like, take a couple of days just to chill out. You don't need to be go. Like, you've got to be able to manage your state. Because if like you said before, if you're firing, if you're right, if you're on, all the results will come from that. But you really need to make sure that's right, which it's good. We're starting to see, I think, more businesses take that into consideration, instead of just having that sort of commanding or pace setting sort of style where it's just like, you got to go at this sort of pace all the time. It's all about results and the achievement. Like, yes, it's great. You can make a lot of money in a short period of time, but it's not sustainable.
It will lead to burnout, and burnout is, it can be dangerous in so many aspects as well. So I do love that there's a lot of agencies jumping on board with understanding their staff more, but in my experience, there's not enough. I would say that a lot of agencies need to become more aware of the fact that this is real for a lot of people. And it's not because people are lazy or, they're not hitting their targets because they don't want to pick up the phone. It's your responsibility as a leader to say, well, what's actually going on here? Why aren't you picking up the phone as much as what you should be? What's the reason behind that? Because there is a reason. There is a reason why someone's not taking the action they know that they need to take. So what is that reason?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, look, thank you for sharing and being so honest as well. I feel like a lot of recruiters can learn from that. So to wrap up, I always ask my podcast guests the same question. So that is, what are the top 3 things that you would advise for recruiters if they really want to excel in this industry moving forward?
Yeah. I think the biggest things that we look for is, number 1, ownership. Like, take ownership of your own career and your own learning and your own path, because no one cares about your career as much as you do. So you can have the best leaders, the best bosses, but you need to step up and own it. You need to take the reins of your own career and push yourself forward. So again, everything we've talked about today allows you to come into that ownership sort of focus. I think apart from that, to me, what I look out for and what's been really good for me throughout my career is being coachable. So that coachability aspect, so being able to listen and learn and take it on and get rid of your ego and realize that other people have been there and done that and they're telling you for a reason, like on why and how to do things. So really to take that on board and not so much push back, but even just to go, rightio, I'm going to try that way. I'm going to try that way for a few weeks and just see if it works. But still, so it's like someone can show you the craft, but you've got to have your own art to it. So it's like, here's how to paint, but you do your own paintings like your sort of way. So that's the way I like to train people as well. And so, yeah, I think that ownership ownership to me flows into everything. If you can take that extreme ownership over, and I say it in our business too, anything that happens at any level is my fault in the end. I always bring it all the way back to me and be like, I didn't train the right way, or that process is terrible, or that could have been done to avoid that, or I could have explained that differently to you from the start. So everything, yeah, I just love that extreme ownership. And then I think from there, you hear it all the time in the industry, but it's just like being resilient. So understand that you're going to have the good days, the bad days. It's, champagne or razor blades, but you've just got to ride that out and be able to, and to be able to do that, that's when you've got to come into play with all those different mindfulness aspects and make sure that you're looking after number one. Number one in everyone's life is yourself. Like it's not, and that's not a selfish thing either. You need to, you're the star of your own show, and you need to make sure that you are as good as you can be. And if you need those days, take them and have them. So, yeah, I think that will be probably the three things for me, Jess.
Great advice. I feel like a lot of yours relate to not even skill of the job. It's definitely just personality, isn't it? And keeping your mind in check. So yeah, love it.
I think those things as well, especially with that ownership of, to me, again, I saw a really good post. I forget, it was a guy from the UK, but so say with ownership too, if you get the best recruiters anyway, they will, that a role will fall over. They'll take ownership and responsibility. That's my fault. What have I done? What can I do to get that back on? A candidate goes to them, rightio, shit, how could I have seen the signs? What could I do next time? How can I eliminate that? You have a bad quarter. Right, that's my fault. What can I do? It's really that ownership is just such a great piece in all areas of your life, not just recruiting or owning a business, but in personal relationships, in parenting, the lot. If you can stop making excuses, that's all they are. You're kidding yourself. You make these bullshit excuses, which just perpetuates all this rubbish that's going to continue to happen until you take ownership, until you go, hold on, I'm the problem. Not beat yourself up, but just have that awareness of rightio, I can change. Like you said, maybe I'll get up a little bit earlier and go to the gym. So then I don't say, I don't have time to go to the gym. You're like, no, you do. It's just, is it important? And are you owning your part in that?
We'll always find time for things that are important as well, right? One of the ones that makes me laugh, I just have to say this, is when recruiters say, I don't have time to start building a personal brand, an hour a week posting. And I'm like, don't you go to the pub every Saturday for 8 hours?
Yeah.
But you can't find an hour to write some posts. Okay. So exactly. It's just, it's funny, isn't it? Because people they prioritize what's important. And look, if that's what it is for you, then that's what it is. But it's everyone has time to do what's important. You find time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Rhyley, look, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. I really appreciate your time as well as all of the wisdom that you've shared as well. It's a great episode. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Jess. It's been great. I love what you're doing out there for recruiters coming up. And I guess lastly, just on those things I've shared around the addiction or the mindfulness stuff or those, anxiety, panic attacks I am. The only reason I'm doing that is not for a pity party of people to be like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It's more, like I said to you offline there a few weeks ago, I want to be able to make, I feel like in recruitment, you can make a difference in owning a business. You can give to charity, when you get to certain points. But to me, that's where I really see my calling is there's other people out there, other recruiters or business owners that are are battling like I did or still do from time to time, and just to show that you're okay and everything will work out, and I'm here to talk. Or that's where I'd love to, I guess, see that impact of myself, or those sharing those stories come from, where people can actually reach out and go, man, like I'm in the same boat, or fuck, that's what I'm doing. Like I've got all this shame and guilt around it. Like, can I talk to you? I'll be like, yeah, sweet, let's go. So, again, if anyone, I am an open book like that, happy to go into like all the stories, all the background, all the tips and tricks that got me out of that hole. Yeah, I'm an open book.
That's amazing. And look, if anyone can benefit from that, then reach out to Rhyley on LinkedIn. His name's just Rhyley Hunter on there. You'll find him and you'll find his fun posts. So yeah, reach out to him and he'll be more than happy to help. So thank you again, Rhyley.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it.